Hello, Gaston County. Sorry, I'm laughing already this morning. Welcome to episode number 26 of Gaston's Great, a podcast highlighting some of the great things happening in and around Gaston County. I'm your host, Stephen Long, and we are coming to you once again from this week is the worldwide headquarters of GSM Services, and we're looking forward to having some great discussions in the coming weeks and months. We simply believe in discussing more of the reasons why Gaston's great. We are highlighting another terrific organization this week and have Stephanie Roberts and Kim Elmore with us from Cancer Services of Gaston County. Stephanie is the Executive Director, and Kim is the Community Outreach Director. Stephanie and Kim, it's great to have you on, and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Thank you, Stephen.
Very good. So we're going to get right to it, and we're going to start with Stephanie, since Kim doesn't have any idea what questions are going to be asked today. So, Stephanie, if you could maybe just just tell us a little bit about yourself, anything you'd like to share.
Okay, I'll start backwards. I'll start now and go backwards. I just became a grandma 2 months ago. I'm so excited. I have my first grandson.
Well, fantastic.
He's precious.
That's big news.
His name is Walker, and he's perfect, and he's healthy, and he's just lives in Belmont, so it's not far to go.
Oh, that's excellent.
That's great. I've been at Cancer Services for 23 years. I am a 1988 graduate of Hunter House High School, Gastonia native, a 1992 graduate of Appalachian State University with my degree in public health and business. Went to University of North Carolina for my master's in public health administration. I didn't finish it, though, but I did do it for a long time. I am married, have a dog named Batman who is 14 and blind, and now 2 children. I have 2 children, Will, who is 26, and Meredith, who is 29, and the mom of my grandson. So, love working at Cancer Services, love Gaston County. I've been here my whole life.
23 years is a long time.
Yes, it is.
And good for Cancer Services and good for our county.
Yes.
So, Kim, how about you? What would you like to share?
I'm a grandma as well. I've been doing it a little longer than her because I have a 21-month-old granddaughter.
Oh, wow. Good for you.
And a 6-month-old granddaughter.
Oh.
So now we get to share pictures, and she understands more when I pull out my phone and show her pictures what I'm talking about, how awesome it is. But I've been with Cancer Services on Halloween will be my 16th anniversary.
Wow.
So we've been cohort and crimes.
Long time.
Yeah, a very long time. A very long time. I have a 29-year-old. I have 3 children, 29-year-old and a 26-year-old, and then I have a 15-year-old.
Okay.
So I got 2 more years before I have the last one out of the house, and that is going to be a really big adjustment.
Sure.
Yes.
We have a 15-year-old as well, so I'm on the same calendar, 22, 20, and 15. So I'm right with you on that 2-year plan.
That is going to be a very hard adjustment.
Will be, yes.
I'm an Ashbrook graduate, go Green Wave.
Yes.
Yes, Ashbrook graduate, as are all 3 of my children will be as well. And I graduated from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill with a journalism degree. I actually was an advertising major and worked in the newspaper world for a long time, and then agency as a media buyer, and ended up at Cancer Services through a mutual friend who, Jerry Simpson, advanced copier, told me about this job. And interviewed with Stephanie, and the rest is history. And ironically, as soon as I came to work for Cancer Services, I would say I came to work in 2006, and my mom died in 2009. I lost my mom to lung cancer in 2009. So this is very near and dear to my heart. Started out as the tobacco education coordinator and used to do a lot, and I still do that, but not as much as I did.
Right.
So we're kind of jack of all trades in the office.
Well, that's interesting. Unfortunately, when we get to be our age, we get to a point where we've probably known someone or have some type of connection to cancer in some way. Mm-hmm. Our family, both my father-in-law and my father both passed from cancer, so that's a connection. Unfortunately, that we probably all will have at some point if we live long enough
That's
ourselves. Right. So you both kind of shared how you ended up at Cancer Services, but can you give me? I don't know if this was actually one of the questions or on the question. Kind of maybe Stephanie, give me a brief history of the organization, when it started, and kind of.
Well, that's a long story, but Cancer Services, I'm not sure the exact date. We began as Gaston County Cancer Society, and I'm not sure the exact date that goes back. It's very similar to the Heart Society. We're very similar organizations.
Yep.
We were originally a part of the national organization, the American Cancer Society. And in 1977, the board of directors decided that they really wanted to become more of a local service organization, and they applied for funding from what, I don't even think it was called United Way then, but it was the United Fund or something like that.
Right.
And they applied for funding from United Way of Gaston, or what's now United Way of Gaston County. And that was a conflict between the American Cancer Society and United Way because they're both fundraising organizations. And so they had to choose, and they chose to go with United Way and become local. They were really concerned that at that time, only about 15% of the dollars raised was staying in the community to help people in the community. And so they really wanted to be able to take the local dollars that were donated and help people here locally. And so we were Gaston County Cancer Society locally from 1977 until 2001. And in 2001, we had really been dealing with a lot of confusion. There was a lot of presence from the American Cancer Society and other groups. Susan G. Komen got really big back then. The Race for the Cure, and it's not that anything is wrong with any of those organizations. We're just different, and so there was a lot of confusion in us being called Gaston County Cancer Society. People automatically assumed we were the local chapter, and so our board of directors voted to change our name to Cancer Services of Gaston County, and we have been that name ever since. And that has really worked well for us because we like to talk about who we are, not who we're not.
Right.
And we spent a lot of time explaining who we weren't, and now with it being Cancer Services, we can just talk about who we are and what we do. And that's been a big change and a big positive for the organization.
Actually, that's a very similar story to Heart Society.
Yes.
As we had
Yes.
Renee Anthony on, gosh, I don't know how many episodes ago, but it was a part of the story that I personally wasn't aware of. So I appreciate you sharing that. Can you share, is there a specific mission that Cancer Services has that you can share? Or?
Yes. We serve by actively promoting healthy lifestyles and by providing support and services needed by individuals and families living with cancer. Very simple. That's what we do. When we talk about healthy lifestyles for cancer, that means mostly prevention and early detection and letting people in the community know, providing the education to let people know the importance of getting cancers detected early. And Kim will probably talk a little bit more about the tobacco education that we do. And then the support and services needed by individuals and families living with cancer, that could be anything. Honestly, we help people on a case-by-case basis. We have things that we do that are, we do this a lot, like provide liquid nutrition for like Ensure or Boost or something like that for people who are living with cancer and in treatment and they can't eat and they need more calories and they need more sustenance, and we do chicken noodle soup and Gatorade just to get people through, and that's something. It seems like that's just such a little thing, but it really is a help. And the liquid nutrition's a very expensive thing for people to go and buy. It's about, right now you can't find it. Right now, I looked
There's
at
so many things like that right now.
It's terrible, and I looked on Amazon. You can't even get it from Sam's Club or Walmart. And everything's on back order, and it's like if you can find it somewhere, it's like $80 a case, which is ridiculous. It's usually like between $50 and $60 a case.
Wow!
So that's a huge expense for people, and they have to sometimes have, they might have, depending on their type of cancer and their needs, they might need a case a week or more. And so that's a huge cost savings to the community, and I'll get into that a little bit more, how we actually have a community partnership to provide that.
Okay, well, we'll make sure, before we finish, we'll make sure our listeners know what specifically can you do now, what needs do you have. I mean,
Yes.
I'm assuming that, like most organizations, it might be different than a little bit different than it was 20 months ago, pre-COVID, and just how so many things change. So that also was a good segue. It's kind of our next question we'd like to talk about is, what are some of the initiatives of the organization? Maybe, Stephanie mentioned the tobacco program. Maybe, Kim, can you kind of elaborate that, or any other initiatives you might want to share for our listeners you got going on?
We have always been very involved in teaching youth about the dangers of tobacco, specifically working with organizations like in the schools,
Sure.
Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, or whatever. We have a youth advisory council that's made up of high school students from Gaston County.
Okay, I don't think I knew that. That's good.
Yes. Unfortunately, with COVID last year, we weren't able to do it, so we've got it up and going this year. It runs through the school year, and we have about 40 kids on the youth advisory council, but this year we've got less than 10. We're just trying to keep it kind of small.
Right.
But we do a lot of work in the schools trying to educate the kids on the dangers. It used to be we talked about cigarettes and spit tobacco. Now we just focus on vaping for the most part. We still touch on cigarettes, but everything is vaping because it's such an epidemic among youth. And as a matter of fact, my kids, I was talking about, my 29-year-old, they have a nanny that keeps their kids, and they caught her vaping in the house. And they said they would have never dreamt in a million years that she vaped.
Yeah.
So, it's just these trying to educate kids. I think we're making progress. I think they're slowly learning, especially since they've eliminated the flavors, because that's what drew kids into it in the first place. I think there's starting to be a little bit of a turn on that. But.
I'm going to ask a dumb question probably, but do you think early on that there was this false information that maybe it wasn't as bad as smoking or something? Is that why it kind of became so popular? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And that has since changed, right?
Well, when e-cigarettes came out on the market, it was marketed as a way to quit smoking. And so people started doing that because they thought, well, this is a way that I can quit smoking. And, I'm still smoking generally. But that's not the case. And then when they came out with all the flavors, because there's like over 700 and some different flavors that they had out on the market, the kids just thought, it was so cool. And then they made it look even cooler by looking like USB drives and stuff. When they came out with the Juul changed everything. I mean, it's not only a noun, it's a verb. Everybody Juuls now. So, yes, that really, the Juul changed a lot. A lot.
What about, are there, obviously that's a big one with getting some early education. This is for either one of any other initiatives do you have specifically, or there, I don't know, you might call it programs or events or just anything that you'd like to, share that you guys are involved with. And maybe a lot of times these questions end up being pre-COVID and post-COVID sometimes,
Well, we do. It's more of a program, but it's our providing services to people living with individuals and families living with cancer.
Right.
One of the things we have not been able to get back started up since COVID is our support groups. The people who are living with cancer are already immune compromised, and to get those folks together in a room, it's just been almost impossible. We were hoping that with the warm weather this past summer that we could get them maybe even outside together in a group, but then, COVID came back with a big force, and so they're a little bit afraid, and our leaders are volunteers, and we're certainly not going to ask them to do something that's out of their comfort level.
Sure.
So we have a great support group that we miss terribly, and it is actually bingo. And I know bingo might not seem like a support group, but it has been going strong for years. We have it right in our office, and we have our volunteer leader who was one of our former clients and one of our volunteers now, and she does a great job. And they connect, they pray together, they sing together, they just have a blast in there, and they welcome new people to come in. And so that's really cool. And we have a Life Warriors support group that is a Christian-based. We're not a faith-based organization, but this is a Christian faith-based support group that is also on hold still. Hopefully we'll be able to get it back and going strong before too long, but that is really great. But mostly just the biggest focus is helping people. There are so many people who have cancer, and cancer is just such a nasty, ugly word. And we've tried every way to make our logo pretty and to make it something, but there's just no way to do it. But there's so many people who need help, and they need help. They don't even know. When they call us, sometimes they don't even know where to start, what to ask for. And we help lead them through the questions of like, what can we do? Tell us what's going on. Tell us what your biggest needs are. Tell us, we try to help them find resources. We help them find resources. And of course we have resources, but we try to make it so that we can make it better for them, make their quality of life better, make it feel a little bit better for them and their family while they're going through it, because it's such a terrible, we all know. I mean, my dad's going through it right now. He's been dealing with cancer for 5 years, and it just came back last year. So it's just, it affects everybody. It affects anybody. I mean, it could be anybody. And so, the people that we are helping, we do help the most needy, but we help any Gaston County resident. So, it could be anybody, and they just need help. And so that's one of the things we do. It could, I keep rambling, but it could be anything. Yeah,
I would imagine that. There's just a lot of uncertainty, right? Mm-hmm. When they don't know where to go. I mean, Renee Anthony even brought that up about not knowing how to gauge and who to talk to about medications.
They
and,
don't, yes.
Especially after the initial diagnosis and maybe group of series of treatments or whatever, whether it's cancer or heart or whatever. Yeah, what do you do then? I mean, and how do you? So I would imagine that, and then trying to deal with that with all the anxiety and stress that goes along with it, a little help would be sort of very grateful for a little help and where to go next and what to do next.
And a lot of times, I would say most of the time, the people that are coming to us for help are not. I don't know how to say this correctly, but they're not the people who are all the time seeking help from a system.
Oh,
help.
yeah.
Right. That's not. So they really have no idea. So, for instance, we have really good working relationships with other groups in the community. So if someone is from Gastonia and their power is about to be cut off, they don't have to go wait in line at Crisis Assistance Ministries. We have a relationship with them where we can pick up the phone and say, this is their situation. Yeah. And we, Crisis will sometimes just pay the whole thing, but if it's more, then we'll partner and we'll pay it together, or we'll look, so that's just one example of how we do that. And we have really worked hard in recent years to work with the Claremont Regional Medical Center. The Claremont Cancer Center has nurse navigators that take on, they're kind of like case managers, but nurses that take on each client's needs. And those nurse navigators really look at, they have our intake forms. Well, they're actually service application forms now, but they have them in their office and they fill them out completely for us and send them to us so that when a person comes to us, we already have their stuff in it. We already have they let them know they're doing it, but we already have their information. And so it just kind of streamlines it for them. And we already know kind of a little bit of their story and what they may be needing help with. And so that's another great partnership.
So this is, I'm going to move on to this next question, which is a big one. And I'm sure this is for either one of you, but, and I'm sure you've got lots of stories, but can you give a specific example or a story related to one of the initiatives or an individual or a family that you've kind of helped, or is there any examples you can think of? Obviously, we don't want to share specific information, but just kind
right.
of and listen, I've heard some of the stories myself, and I know some stories myself, but.
Well, the first one that pops to my mind is something that we just did a few weeks back where one of our clients called. She had been in remission. She had multiple myeloma. She has multiple myeloma. It's come back. And she had to go to Winston-Salem to get a stem cell transplant. And she was going to have to stay at the CQ family house for 15 days while she underwent the stem cell transplant. And she was told it was going to cost her like $600 to stay there, and she isn't able to work. And anyway, so Stephanie mentioned Crisis, so I called Kim at Crisis, and we did a little research online and found that to call them and see if she qualifies for a discount, a rate, because of her income. And sure enough, she did. And so I spoke with the lady at the house, and she gave me the information. And so I called the client and had her call, and it ended up we got it cut in half for her.
Oh, wow.
And so we were able to help pay that for her, so she didn't have to worry about how she was going to pay for her stay there.
Sure.
So those are the kind of things that come up that, people are looking, they need help. She had no choice. She had to go for 15 days. It ended up that her stay, she ended up in the hospital, and so it got a little more complicated than she thought. But, these people, they need help while they're going through things like this.
Yeah, we have stories of people like that all the time who they just come to find out they've missed a couple of their cancer treatments because they don't have a ride. They don't have a way to get there. Well, we can help them with that, but they don't know, and so we help with, I had a lady come in, it's been several months back, and she said, I don't really know how to say this because I really don't need help getting to my cancer treatments. I can do that, but the problem I have is I have to pick my grandson up from school, and so that's more gas than I can afford to go to my cancer treatments and pick my grandson up from school, but there's no one else to pick him up because his parents are working. And I said, we can help you with that. We can give you gas cards. And so, that's the kind of thing. It doesn't really seem like she was very honest and said, this isn't about my cancer treatments, but I can do that. But then what about my grandson? And I'm like, well, of course, that's how we talk about it as individuals and families. We want to it affects the whole family. And we want to be able to make the whole family feel a little better through the whole process of cancer.
And I would think that's the type of thing that you literally, I wouldn't think of, right? When having to deal with that, especially You think it's not a big deal, maybe, but in the last 6 months, gas has gone up to I mean, we feel it here. We have 100 trucks on the road every day, but I'm not having to get to cancer treatment, right?
Right.
That's a little bit. It's a little bit different level of stress and anxiety
it
along with that.
It is.
So this is a question for both of you. Maybe start with you, Kim, if you can think back of your, I think you said 16 years almost. Sunday will be October 31st, right? You said 16 years?
Yes, how about that?
So you were hired. So your first day was Halloween. Your first day was Halloween?
Yes.
And just for the record, Kim just lost her what do we call these? Headphones? And so, but it's all good. This is we are recording this just for you listeners out there. We won't be released before Halloween, but we're recording this just a few days before Halloween this year. So can you kind of share, is there one or two things maybe you can share that you're most proud of accomplishing in your 16 years at Cancer Services?
When I first started there, things have changed over the years. We had more funding. We had funding from Health and Wellness Trust Fund that paid for a lot of the tobacco education that we did. And, we've had to be very creative when we lost that funding, along with Susan G. Komen funding. And we've had to be more proactive in fundraising. And I think that's probably, that isn't my greatest accomplishment. I would say ours.
Sure.
Because Stephanie and I are a team in this. And that is probably our greatest accomplishment is when push came to shove, we really figured out a way to keep Cancer Services going and be able to continue to provide the services that we do under completely different circumstances than when I started. So I think that's probably, I'm going to say, our greatest accomplishment.
Okay. Very good.
Is being able to step up to the plate and figure out how to raise money to keep Cancer Services going to help the people.
That's a good one because you're right. Funding has changed. I mean, I'm involved with a lot of organizations, and funding has really changed big time. Specifically, I'm currently the chair of the United Way, and our funding has really changed, and our county going from more of a manufacturing model in our county to a more service-based type model, and employment has really changed, and a lot of companies just don't do those type of things anymore. So I appreciate that greatly. And something else that reminded me what I just realized, I'm going to ask for some help from Elizabeth when you lost your headphones. It's got to be uncomfortable, but Stephanie's headphone on her left side is not correct. That's got to be uncomfortable. There you go. So Stephanie just was enlightened because now she can hear her and just
lopsided.
And I'm sure that Stephanie was going to ask us to edit this out, but there is no way that we're going to edit this out of this episode.
Not to snort. That is hilarious.
So sorry. You know what? Actually, I should have realized that.
How did I not?
But the second that you lost your headphones, I went, "Is hers okay?" I said,
wrong
"Oh
with
my
hers?
gosh,
What
she's
is
got her.
wrong
She's
with
got
her
one headphone on backwards." So this is that now. I say this maybe something happens in every fourth or fifth episode. This is definitely.
This is it. We knew it would be us.
This is definitely going to be the most listened to episode now.
You got Lucy and Ethel here.
That's right. That's what we call ourselves, Lucy and Ethel.
So I don't know if you can follow that up with something maybe So Kim already kind of stole the thunder on the funding and how you've been able to accomplish that. Anything that you could kind of add to that? Maybe what you're most proud of?
There's a couple things, and that is absolutely the number one thing. The fact that we lost about $400,000 in funding with about 1 week's notice, and that was back in 2012, I believe. Dustin Letts was our board chair at the time.
Oh, I know Dustin very well.
Yeah, he's super awesome.
Yes, he
Caroline's on our board now. Super awesome. So is your wife.
Yes.
But it was what happened with the North Carolina Health and Wellness Trust Fund. That was North Carolina's tobacco settlement money. Okay. And we were one of the original organizations to receive funding from that. And we got like $300,000 a year. That's a big amount of money for our organization. And they'd abolished it. It went in the House or the whatever, and they just abolished it, and they decided to use that money for other things, and so those programs were wiped out, all of them, not just ours.
That's incredible.
And then right after that, I got a week's notice from Susan G. Komen that their funding initiative had changed, and funding that we thought we would be getting on April 1st, this was maybe March 27th, I'm not kidding, we found out that we would not be getting that money. So that was that was a hard time for cancer services. We had a lot larger staff, and that's the first thing that had to go. We had to cut staff. We had no option.
Right.
We had no other choice. There was no way to keep those programs going to that level. But we were able to really just kind of reinvent how the organization is funded, and so that's kind of leads me into the community partnerships with how we get get a sponsorship of all things. We get funding from the Caramont, from the Hospital Foundation, but we also have a sponsorship grant, which sounds crazy, but they have provided for years. They have provided for us the amount of liquid nutrition that we need for our clients free of charge in return for sponsorship. That has been fantastic. Right now at our office, we have 0 liquid nutrition. That is not their fault. That is because it's sitting at Abbott, or we can't get it wherever it is. Yeah. But that has just been, and we've kind of changed the way that works a little bit this year, and it's going to be better for everybody and easier for everybody once we can get the stuff off the boat or wherever it is. That's going to be great. Yeah. But that has been a huge cost savings, because we were having to purchase it, and what their price is versus what our price is just
completely different. Unbelievable.
So that has helped, and also just so many groups in the community. People have they've I think it sort of happened. It started happening after we changed our name, and people began to realize that we were the local organization. But so many groups in the community have come forward and started raising money for cancer services. We call them third-party fundraisers, and that has become about 40% of our budget. And I'm not kidding. The picture right here of Chief Chad Hawkins and Belmont Police, they've done the No Shave November for us for years. Okay. And then other police departments started doing it. The fire department does a T-shirt sale for us all the time. I mean, we have, and I'll probably talk about this, I should probably talk about this later, but a big event coming up on Saturday that one of our board members just had a dream and decided she wanted to do this event 9 years ago, and she's done it every year for 9 years, and it raises money for us. And so those are so great. We have this great company in town called GSM, and they have done this service van for us. And I looked it up yesterday. I believe we started this in 2011, Stephen. It's 10 years. I think it is. Ago. I went back in my books,
That's
and
surprising,
I said,
but
the first time I had because you guys have donated before, but for the first time I had a donation marked service van was in 2011, and I just kind of added up that money, and that's almost $17,000. Well, so that is
I'm glad to hear that.
Phenomenal. Yeah. That is over the years. And so just so many groups like that have been helping us. And then we are still a United Way partner agency, and we value that relationship with United Way. The funding has gone down over the years, not because United Way doesn't love us. It's just that there's just not enough money. There's just not enough funds. And so when I first came 23 years ago, we were 77% funded by United Way.
Oh, wow.
And I believe now it is about 8% funded by United Way.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. But when I was my first stint on the board, United Way, we were probably locally almost a $3 million campaign. And this is really, a lot of it's COVID related, but this past year was a $1.2 million campaign. Right. So we really have a lot of work to do. But that's another topic.
And just to add, not only on the fundraising side, but not only have we been able to do that as an organization, but we have quadrupled the number of people that we serve while making all those changes, and we've been able to quadruple.
So that right there is a terrific, that last sentence you just said is a terrific story to tell, because you've been able to adapt and still touch more people. Mm-hmm. Those things don't normally go together, right? When you have less funding, so you just have to adapt and learn and figure out ways to do that.
We did that with the pandemic too. When COVID hit, it was kind of like, what are we going to do? We are essential. I mean, when you think about it, what are we going to do? We can't just close down, but we can't have people coming in here and possibly, what if we expose them? You know, how everybody was so afraid. So we within like 2 days came up with an emergency operation plan, and it's still in place. I mean, we have our doors open, but most of our clients still choose the COVID way, the pandemic way that we've been dealing with it, and that is, they call in, they tell us what their needs are. If it's something like, a power bill or their roof or something crazy that they, something not crazy, but it's just something unusual, then that's going to take time on our end, and we'll help them solve that. But if they just need liquid nutrition or adult briefs or some medical equipment, things that we have in stock, we put it out on the patio with their initials on it, not their name because we don't want everybody to know who's getting it. And they can just pick it up. They don't have to come in. They can just get what they need. And we, if they knock and need help, need us to help them getting it to their car, we're happy to do that. But that was great that we never had to close.
Well, good. That's terrific. So I'm going to ask you to kind of look, maybe start with you, Stephanie, look into your crystal ball, and how would you envision the organization looking in 5 to 10 years?
Okay. I'll be realistic.
It'd be nice to not have. Not nice to have an organization.
I was
like
actually going to
this.
say it's not realistic. I don't think, but I would love for our doors to be closed.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yep.
I would love that. I would love for cancer to be cured, and I would love for our doors to be closed. Kim and I have learned so many things over the years. We could do a lot of different businesses.
Yes, we could.
We talk about it all the time. We could do this and this and this. If they cure cancer, we're good. We're fine. Let's get it cured. But realistically, I don't see that happening. Cancer has become more of a chronic disease.
Right.
More people live. It's not so much a death sentence, and that's a great thing. And people live longer and need help longer. But I would see us as being kind of where we are now, maybe. I would hope a little stronger. I would hope we had a little bit more, a little bit more base to work from. Sometimes we're a nonprofit, and in the year sometimes it's really lean, and we're working on that. We had one of our donors come make a phone call to us this year, and he's actually every single month paying off our mortgage on our building until it's paid off. And so that'll be phenomenal. That'll be paid off in 3 years.
Yeah, I think I had heard that maybe at one of the Faces of Hope or something events. You had mentioned that or something. That's terrific. Wow.
It's awesome.
That's
it's
unbelievable.
Awesome. So it may be 3 years. I think the way we're doing it, it'll be paid off. He's paying payment towards principal, and we're paying our payment. And we didn't know much anyway on our building, but it's going to be done, and that's fantastic. So I see us being stronger and still providing services, and just continuing to make community partnerships and continuing to make it easier on people and on their families struggling with cancer. I don't see a huge amount of change. I am hopeful that we will be able to get back into a lot more of the early detection and prevention. That's kind of where I started in my career with that, and I believe very strongly in that, and I think there are a lot of people who still don't know the importance of, like, getting a mammogram. Breast cancer is 100% curable if you catch it early enough.
Sure.
And I think there are still so many people out there that just don't understand the importance of doing it. But I just see us being stronger and moving forward and keeping on. That's right.
Kim, is anything you would add to that, or did she cover it pretty well?
I think she covered it pretty well.
Okay.
I think she did.
So this next question, I am going to start with you, Kim. This is a podcast about Gaston County. So why would you say Gaston County is better off because cancer services is here?
Oh, my goodness. That's an easy question because years ago, my husband had kidney failure and was on dialysis. And I remember what it was like not knowing where to turn. I had 2 small children and trying to figure out how to make it work and how to make ends meet and whatever. Cancer services makes such a difference in so many people's lives that I can't imagine where some of these people would be if we weren't here.
Right.
So it just makes such a difference in so many lives. That's just the main thing. I feel so blessed to be able to be a part of cancer services and do what we do, and working with Stephanie, because, there's nothing better to see a woman come into our office not feeling, she's gone through breast cancer, she's lost her hair, she's undergone a mastectomy, and, not feeling real good about herself. And she goes back in that room down the hall with Patricia, and it might take a few hours or whatever that Patricia works with her because she's just detail-oriented, and she spends so much time with each woman. To see that woman walk out our door with a smile on her face, with a wig and, a mastectomy bra, feeling pretty again.
I'm sure.
What a wonderful feeling to be a part of that.
Absolutely.
It's pretty awesome.
That's pretty good. Well, Steph, I'm going to ask you the same question, but that might be hard to follow that answer. Why do you think Gaston County is better?
Well, it is the same reason.
Okay.
Every County does not have a local group like us. There are groups like us in some parts of North Carolina and South Carolina and across the country. And we used to get together with them every couple years. We'd meet around the country with these groups, and we're not affiliated, but we're similar. We're similar. We have a similar history and how we became a local organization. And so we kind of look at what they're doing. And so I can't imagine, and we are a local agency. We help local people. But if someone comes to us from Lincoln County, so to our knowledge, there's no group like us in Lincoln County. There are a few funds that might help people here and there. We're not going to turn them away. There might be certain things that we can't do necessarily. Like it would be difficult for us to, on a continual basis, provide transportation from Lincoln to Gastonia, because that's a long way. But we could maybe do it a time here or there. But we don't, Lincoln and Cleveland County and York County, we don't turn them away. Mecklenburg County has groups, and we know how to get them in with those groups. So I can't imagine. I can't imagine what these people would do. It's so terrible for us right now having to tell people that we don't have liquid nutrition, but we're actually getting, good old Amazon, we're actually getting a shipment today of, it's not the same, it's not liquid nutrition, but it'll be a decent substitute. I've talked to the nutritionist at the hospital of Carnation Instant Breakfast. We're getting a shipment of that today, so that we'll be able to package that up and at least get that out, because I was told today it's going to be at least 3 more weeks before we get it.
So when you say liquid nutrition, typically you're talking about stuff like Ensure and Boost and that type of product.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, because I know Janet has delivered a few boxes of those over the years up there on her way to board meetings or whatever.
Oh yes.
So I mean, obviously, we will come back around to cancer services before we finish up. But is there anything else I should have asked or haven't asked? Anything else you'd like to share? But kind of before we move on, we're going to shift gears just briefly before we swing back around to cancer services.
I can't think of it right now.
Okay, very good. So, again, this is a podcast about Gaston County. So we do have a little section that we put in here and this is what really. The people that know you, these are the questions that they really want to know about, and especially your board. Okay, and so since you haven't seen the questions, Kim, I'll start with Stephanie. So give you a couple minutes a minute or two, or a few seconds anyway, to think about your answer. So this week we're calling this the I don't know. Are you really from or know of Gaston County speed round of questions? Is that good enough, Amy? Okay. So first question, Stephanie, is what is your favorite Tony's ice cream flavor?
Well, it's not a flavor. I would get called out by Kim if I didn't tell you the truth. It's a nut sundae.
Oh, okay. That's okay. That's an adequate. That's anything at Tony's, frankly.
And I love a Tony's ice cream nut sundae.
Okay. Anything that has Tony ice creams in it.
If I tell you something different, she'll call me out.
I love me some Tony's, but I'm more for their sweet tea. I stop by there every single morning. I go to Tony's. And there's a group of guys there, and Lewis, they're like family.
Oh,
so
I'm
yes,
sure, yeah.
I love chocolate, but I'm always there every morning to get my sweet tea.
So you're a sweet tea, not a coffee morning person, huh?
Yes, sir. That is correct.
Excellent. All right. So, Stephanie, actually, I think that's the first time we haven't had neither of our guests said an actual flavor in a milkshake or something. So y'all are on top of it. Okay, Stephanie, next question. Sundrop or Cheerwine?
I guess Cheerwine. I mean, neither. I don't drink soft drinks, but if I was going to drink, I would drink Cheerwine.
Okay. We
love Sundrop. We love Choice. They
donate Choice USA.
Absolutely.
It's awesome.
Kim, would you say one or the other? Or?
I'm with Stephanie. I don't drink soft drinks, but if every once in a while, Cheerwine tastes good to me.
Okay, very good. Favorite local restaurant?
Mine's easy. You want to go first?
No,
you look like
go.
You're going to say
No.
Black's Barbecue.
Okay.
That's not healthy either, but when you just have to have some comfort food.
Black's is great. Absolutely.
I'm torn between Saki and Logan's.
All right, we'll say both. Let's go.
Both.
All right.
I know everybody there at both places.
Oh, yeah. Well, very good. All right, Stephanie, favorite outdoor activity in Gaston County, or favorite park, or anything you'd like to share there?
Okay, so I did see this question, and I really am stumped because I know we have a lot of great places, but I just don't spend a whole lot of time in parks anymore. I used to run. But I don't do a lot of that anymore. So my favorite outdoor activity is going to be sitting on my patio drinking wine and watching cars go up and down Garrison Boulevard.
God bless you. That is absolutely an acceptable. That is absolutely an acceptable answer on Gaston's Great.
I live in Ashley Arms, and so that's the Gastonia High School, so it's definitely Gastonia, you know.
Oh, sure it is.
Right.
Absolutely.
I got nothing. I don't go to a lot of parks either.
You do with Rob for soccer.
Yeah, we used to. He's now just playing for school, so my favorite place.
Okay,
I don't
so
know anything.
we're going to move on because that was probably
I failed that one.
that is a question that we normally get some really in depth and good answers, and today we got pretty much nothing, except that Stephanie likes to drink wine on the back porch.
Right. That's all you really need to know.
Actually, what this might do, though, this might entice a lot of people. I want to come work for Cancer Services. They're having a lot of fun over there. All right, so I'm going to modify this question a little bit, and everybody, if anybody's listening to any episodes, they know why I asked this question. I'm an NC State guy, but I get tired of hearing about UNC and Duke around here, so I asked this question anyway. But I'll start with Stephanie. I'll modify it a little bit, just in case. So UNC, Duke, NC State, or Appalachian?
Go Apps.
That's what I figured you were going to say.
Can you not throw in a Tar Heel?
He did.
I did.
Did
UNC,
you? Oh, okay.
UNC
You say UNC. Okay. Yeah, Tar Heel all the way.
Okay,
Although 2 of my children went to App. So
okay. Yeah, well,
split.
I have a junior at App and a senior at Western at the moment, but I'm an NC State guy, so maybe my third will.
I'll always be a Tar Heel. Sorry, Stephen.
That's all right. Well, y'all probably know that I married a Tar Heel, so it's all good. I really like this question. Actually, with the two of you, I'm not sure I want to ask this question, but Stephanie, again, recalling this is a family-friendly podcast. Yes. What is something very few people know about you besides drinking wine on the porch?
Okay. I don't know that very few people know this about me, but it might surprise people who don't know this about me. I ride a Harley Davidson, my very own.
Actually, I did know that.
Yeah, I ride a big motorcycle, a Street Glide, 2015 Street Glide. It's giant, and I love it.
That's impressive, actually.
Been riding that motorcycle for almost 8 years now. Well, not that one. This is my third one, but I never in a million years, ever in a million years, would have dreamed that I would ride on the back of a motorcycle, much less ride my own motorcycle, because I can, I'm not very coordinated. So if somebody throws a ball at me, it's my instinct is to duck, not catch. So I love it. I love it. I started dating my husband, and he rode a motorcycle, and I was terrified to ride with him, but I got to where I loved it. And my good friend Chief Phil Welch, the fire department, teaches the motorcycle safety classes. He came into the office one day talking about a T-shirt sale, I think, and he was like, "Stephanie, I see on Facebook you've got a new boyfriend and he rides a motorcycle." And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Is it fun?" I'm like, "I love it. I love it." And he's like, "You need to come take the motorcycle safety class." I was like, "Oh, no. I won't ever ride my own motorcycle." And he was like, "Even if you don't, that's fine. You'll be a better passenger. Just come take the class. Come take it when I'm teaching it." Well, that was all she wrote. I learned how to ride a motorcycle, and I've never looked back. I don't even like to ride with my husband anymore. I just we went. That's kind of why my voice is scratchy. We rode about 500 miles in the North Carolina and South Carolina on Saturday and Sunday this weekend. So we had a great time.
Well, good for you. Yeah. That's great. And probably a good one that a lot of people didn't know about you. Kim, how about you?
I'm so boring. My 2 favorite things,
okay,
not people, things, are my vacuum cleaner and my gas blower. That's true. I vacuum every day, and I love a gas blower. I got one as an anniversary present years ago.
God bless you.
That was my very favorite anniversary present.
I can just imagine Janet
I
Long.
divorced him, but
me showing up with a gas blower or a vacuum cleaner as an anniversary gift. I can imagine I'd be up here at the office sleeping on the couch in the back.
It's a very sad statement, but it's so true.
She's very handy.
I
call her
admit,
Handy Mandy.
I mean, listen, I have to admit, there's nothing. I guess I actually have one that the shoulder straps and the pack on your back. I mean, it's a.
My son has one because he has his own little yard business that I help him with, and I don't like it. I just like my little gas blower.
That's terrific. Wow.
Yeah.
That's absolutely the best answer we have ever had to that question. And
that's all I got.
And after this episode, though, you said that I'm pretty boring. Nobody's going to think you're boring after this episode.
I don't know about that.
Great.
And I'm a Hallmarkaholic.
Oh gosh, you and Janet, my wife, are very. Yeah, she is.
They started the Christmas movies. I've seen them all probably 10 times,
Yeah.
and I still act like I've never seen them
Yeah,
before.
yeah.
I love them.
And everyone is so different.
That's what my kids say. They're like, "Mom, you know how it's going to end."
Janet. I mean, she would never say this, but I'm sure Janet gets a little irritated because I tell her, 15 minutes in, this is how this one is going to end. Exactly. And
That's what my kids say.
19 out of 20 times, I'm correct.
Oh yeah.
But you know what? I will occasionally, hope nobody hears this that I know, but I will sit and watch them with her. So it does make you feel. It makes you feel better about life and the world in some ways.
Yes,
I will admit that. So I'm with you there. So
the guy gets the girl, and the girl gets the guy.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah, it's shocking that
And I don't know.
that's how it ends. One time they need to have a Halloween one that doesn't end that way. Maybe maybe something more tragic happens at the end of the Halloween.
And as soon as they kiss, the movie is over.
Oh,
that
yeah.
is it.
That's it. Oh my! So this last question before we get back to cancer services, and we can't get back to cancer services quick enough. Stephanie, is there a book or anything you would recommend to our listeners, or a recent blog or article, or I'm going to assume that you're both going to tell me that you don't read.
I read.
Okay.
I love to read.
I read.
Okay, very good. I just assumed that would get us off track again.
I have heard
intelligent.
a great podcast recently, and that was Gaston's Great. I heard a few of those
Well,
recently,
thank you.
and I think it's great. I'm going to go back and listen
You
to
have
the rest of them.
that's a
Highly
winner.
recommend that. But the books. I don't read a whole lot of nonfiction. I really don't. I do, but not
Fiction,
often.
Well, fiction's okay to share.
So I read a really good series of books. It's so lighthearted, but that's what I needed back during last winter when it was just
Sure.
everything was terrible. But it's the Paradise series by Ellen Hildebrand. She writes books usually set in Nantucket, but these books are set on St. John because that's where she writes her books. She goes to St. John and stays there to write her books, and it's like a 3-series book, and it's this, it's just crazy fiction, but it was wonderful. So I highly recommend that. And if you're like me, you'll go to St. John after you read the books, and that's what we did.
Well, good for you. Did you fly your Harley down there?
No.
All right, just checking.
We don't only take motorcycle vacations. We do take some, but not only.
I got you. Kim, what about you? Anything you would share on a book or anything? Or
I don't read anything intellectual. I'm kind of like Hallmark. I read, Daniel Steele or whatever. So nothing that would help anybody except be brain dead or whatever.
That doesn't. Somehow, for some reason, that doesn't surprise me at all.
You seen a pattern here? I am.
Oh, all right. So we're going to move on from our.
Please.
Really.
That has to be. Amy can confirm this, but I'm going to assume for that segment that was the longest. Do I live in Gaston County? There's no doubt that once the word gets out on this, we're going to our listenership's going to at least triple from 3 to 9. All right, so we are getting close to kind of finishing up, but this is get back to cancer services, and before we finish, we'll make sure our listeners know what they can do to help, where to go to find more information. But Stephanie, start with you. Besides cancer services, why would you say Gaston County is such a great place?
Gaston County is a great place because it's still, even though we've grown so much in my lifetime, we're still a hometown. I always say everybody's not 6 degrees. They're one or maybe a half degree from somebody else.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Everybody still, even with all the new people moving in, with all the changes, everybody still knows everybody in some way. And I think that is fantastic. And the people in Gaston County, I know a lot of times Gaston County gets a bad rap. I've been here my whole life. When I was in college, you live in Gastonia? Isn't that the murder capital? Isn't that little Chicago? And I'm like, no, what? I didn't know. But,
when you live here, you don't.
We get a bad rap, I think. But honestly, the people in Gaston County are so generous, so giving. And, when we had a shortage of just little, like chicken noodle soup and Gatorade back before the holidays last year, we had a few of our board members put it on their Facebook page, and we did too, put it out there that and you guys, within 2 days, our front lobby and front area was piled so high with chicken noodle soup and Gatorade. Amazon started bringing it to our doors like crazy. I mean, you can't imagine. The people here are so generous, and even the people who need help the most. I cannot tell you how many times we have somebody come in and they need help from us. They might need adult briefs or liquid nutrition or, any of the things that we might have, and they just want to give us $3 or $10, and we say, no, we don't, but I really want to do this. I want to help somebody else. And it is, the people in Gaston County are just across the board, I think, generous, good people, and I'm proud to live here. I'm glad that I've lived here my whole life. I'm happy
Yeah,
to
I would
live
agree.
here.
That's a common theme, and all the things I'm involved with, I see that happen more than once. And don't forget, we are, Charlotte is the gateway to Gastonia.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
That's
to
right.
your point, I do think though there's been a change the last 5 to 6, maybe 7 years about how Gaston County is viewed, and it's things we've done intentionally as a county. But to your point, there has been times
In the
when,
day, back in the day,
back in the day when when I was growing up, Kim, what about you? What would you say is besides cancer services, why is Gaston County such a great place?
I'm basically going to reiterate what Stephanie said. I'm not born and bred from Gastonia. I'm originally from Pennsylvania, moved around a lot as a kid.
Okay.
I think I was in 6 or 7 different schools before we moved down here.
Oh, wow.
So I was in the 6th grade. So to have some place that is home to me, because all my relatives were up north, and to have lived here as long as I have and stayed put, to have gone to school here and then worked here, the number of people, like Stephanie said, everybody knows everybody. When I worked at the Gazette and I handled advertising, I met so many people.
Right.
And everybody is just so wonderful. I told you I just went up to Wisconsin, and the people were so great there. But it reminded me so much of here. Sure. Because they were so friendly. And the gentleman at the ball game, when we went to the Packers game, was sitting beside us, and he said, you've got to have a brat. Now, I know we can get brats here, but I don't eat brats, So he went and bought us each a brat. And then the people behind us gave him a beer for buying us a brat because he was so nice. I mean, it was so crazy. But, that it makes me think of here because people are just so wonderful and giving. And I just love the fact that I've been here so long and that I've had the opportunity to meet so many wonderful people who have been there for me when I've gone through difficult times, who have been there for cancer services. It's truly a blessing to see that because, we hear all the bad stuff, and there's so many good people out there in the world. Yeah. And here in Gaston County, there are a lot of good people.
Well, I appreciate that, and that has been a common thing, and I agree. I've been fortunate enough to travel around the country, and I'm involved with a couple of groups where I travel to other cities to talk about business, and it is it's good to get back when you travel. Traveling is great, but it's good to get back to, and it is a unique. I think it's a unique place. So, I think I say this every episode, but this is probably my favorite question, and I'm going to start with you, Stephanie. Looking back just a few years ago, knowing what you know now, what advice would you give your 20-year-old self?
No, that's actually an easy one for me because my biggest fear when I was 20 was I was so shy. I know that sounds crazy, but I'm actually.
That really shows in this episode.
I'm a bona fide. I'm a bona fide. Melinda Lowry's tested me a bunch of times. I'm a true introvert. Okay. I am, and it was in college. It was very much a challenge for me to think about a career or doing anything where I would have to speak in front of people. And that was a huge fear. And I mean, even just like I was afraid. So I would tell myself, don't be afraid. Just do it. Do not all your biggest fears, because don't go, don't bungee jump off of a cliff or something necessarily. But, your fears, if you can just go forward, push forward and be strong and tackle those fears, they will bring you to a place where you're supposed to be. They will help you so much. And so I couldn't imagine. I mean, my whole career has involved me talking like I'm doing now. So I couldn't imagine if what would have become of me if I didn't do that. So I would tell myself to do that. But it was very much a challenge. It was
sure.
And also just, 20-year-old self, don't follow everybody else's agenda or their path necessarily. Follow your own. I mean, listen to people, yes. Take advice from people but really follow your heart and your dream, and do what you feel is right for you, instead of take care of yourself. Take care of yourself, because you really can't take care of everybody else, and you can't take care of your life. And, I had my children when I was 22 and 24. Your young children, if you're not taking care of yourself. So that's.
Very good.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Kim?
We are not alike in some ways, but we're a lot alike in other ways, and I would second that, because I was such an overachiever as a kid, and I had to be perfect. And there's so many things I missed out on in school. I wished I had gone out for the tennis team, because I love to play tennis. There's so many things I didn't do because I was scared of failing.
Yeah.
And the one thing, being older now and seeing my children, I always tell them, the sun will come up tomorrow.
Yes.
Whatever happens will happen, and it will be okay one way or the other. It might not be the outcome you want, but it will be okay, and the sun will come up. I wish that I had chilled out a little bit more.
Yeah, that word perspective means so much more to me now at 51 than it did when I was 20.
Oh,
Frankly,
yeah.
I don't even know what the word meant when I was 20. I thought I did, but I had no
Right.
concept of what the word 20. It's okay to the overachiever.
It's right.
Comment.
Yeah.
It's when you're old enough and you have perspective, it's probably okay to be that overachiever, because you can kind of keep it, of under control somewhat. But when you're 20, yeah.
I just feel like I missed out on so much because I was so scared of stepping out. In college, especially in class, even though I'm an extrovert, I was an extreme introvert. I can go either way.
Yeah.
In college, and I wish that I had been willing to, when I see what my kids did at App and with their classes or whatever, I almost wish I'd gone to a smaller school. Maybe I'd have done better. But
or any school.
Just a smaller school. I loved the experience. That was a wonderful experience. But yeah, that's what I tell my children is just don't be scared. Just
that's a great
doing something is better than doing nothing.
That's terrific.
That's my motto.
That's terrific advice. Well, ladies, this has been really good. So to make sure what we really want to, hopefully something comes positive for you guys in cancer services out of this. So where can listeners go to learn more? Talk about do you have any current needs? Maybe there's somebody out there listening who has a connection for this liquid nutrition somehow. Who knows? But kind of what can you share about that, how to learn more and how can you get involved or donate or whatever the case may be?
You can go to our website. It's gastoncancerservices.org. We also have social media, Facebook page, Twitter. I don't know if our Instagram. We have an Instagram, but I don't know. We have to talk to Drew about that. Anyway, we actually have an excellent Facebook page.
Okay.
If you're on social media, it's just search Cancer Services and like our page and follow it, because it's a really good Facebook page. And our website has everything you would need to know on how to become involved, how to donate. This coming Saturday morning, if you're not doing anything and you want to line up along the streets of Main Street in Belmont, one of our board members, Denise Price Thomas, is holding her topless cruise in Belmont. And when I say that was her dream 9 years ago, to have a topless cruise through Belmont. And she's been doing this for 9 years, but when she's talking topless, she means convertibles. And so she does a great job, Convertibles for a Cause, of getting convertibles and sponsors to participate in the cruise through Belmont. And then it starts at Stowe Manor, and then we'll end at her friend's house. I can't remember their address, but just follow Denise. But a lot of folks, even if you can't participate, just line up along Main Street in Belmont and cheer the folks along. And that's a great little fundraiser for cancer services.
Is that something she does every year?
Every year.
Okay.
She's been doing it every October. Even last year, it was virtual, but she still did it. It was crazy, but this is the first time in 2 years that she's actually had that event. Our needs are, we always need donations of chicken noodle soup and Gatorade. If you find some Ensure in the store and you'd like to bring some or some Boost, we do need that. I'm hesitant to put that out as a huge plea, though, because
Understood. Okay.
It's expensive, and the donation that we get is such a great donation, and I certainly don't want people wiping the shelves out for cancer services when there's other people who need it, who could be buying it when it's really hard to find right now.
That's a good clarification. Thank you.
But if anybody who would want to volunteer or become involved with us, give us a call, go to our website, find out information. We love our volunteers. We need volunteers for special events. We need volunteers for our office. We need volunteers to help us load or unload liquid nutrition and stock the shelves when it comes in. Okay. Those kind of things.
What about events? Don't you have a couple of events you're involved with, or fundraisers that you have each year?
We have two. Now, like I said, there are so many groups that have fundraisers for us, and we try to attend every one of those that we possibly can. But we have two. We typically have two each year. We actually just finished back in September the 48th annual Gaston County Amateur Golf Tournament, and that is a 3-day tournament where it's not like the other fundraising golf tournaments that you have. You don't have groups and teams and stuff. It's individual play, and at the end of the tournament, the winner is the amateur champion for Gaston County,
Sure.
and so that's a big deal. I jokingly say the golfers look at it as the Masters. It's like the Masters of
Listen,
Gaston County. It's a big deal.
My dad played in it for many years.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. I remember your dad playing in it.
Yep.
But we have that. That's a great fundraiser, and we this year raised more for a golf tournament than we ever have. Our net proceeds were more than $106,000, and that is big for a Gaston County golf tournament. Our big signature event that we have not been able to have for the last 2 years has been Faces of Hope.
Yep.
And we are actually having a board meeting Monday night to discuss what we're going to do about that.
Yeah.
What
I've been fortunate enough to attend several times.
Oh, it's great fun.
It's a great event.
It's great fun.
It's a great event. Yep.
We will probably be making, I'm sure we'll be making some changes to it, but I would love to see us do something. We just, it's kind of hard. I love what the Boys and Girls Club did with having the Dancing for Stars outside.
Yeah.
That's an option, that we can look at too. But, we want to be able to do that in some way, because that event raised more than $100,000 for us as well. So that was a fun event, a good event, and it spotlights folks in the community. We usually pick not just sometimes one person, sometimes three people, who are our Faces of Hope for the year. And our Faces of Hope from 2 years ago, we've still got them ready to roll.
Wow, yeah.
So it's like, wow,
There's
everything was on hold.
There's a lot of pent-up demand and things happening. There's so many events like that have been sitting or been delayed.
Yes.
And
It was when it hit,
it
hit so fast. And like I was talking to it was maybe when everything shut down, it was maybe a month before Faces of Hope. And I was talking to someone at the country club about the logistics. And he said, honestly, Stephanie, I don't know that you're going to be able to have this event. And I was like, why would you say that? And he says, do you know that the Boys and Girls Club have canceled Dancing for Stars? I was like, no. Isn't that like this week or next week? And he was like, I just talked to them. I don't even know if it's public knowledge. They've canceled it. And I'm like, that can't be. Yeah. And then of course it had to be.
Yeah.
We just never saw anything like this happening. And then when it rolled around last year again, we were like, we still can't put that many people in a room with the auctioneers to do this. And and if we don't have that many people in the room, then it's not worth it. We don't make the money, which is the whole point of the fundraiser. So we're really having to look at what we're gonna do. But
shift and what's the word?
That's what we're doing.
Pivot or whatever the big
That's
word
what
has
we're
been.
doing. That's what we're doing
for the last 20 to 21 months now.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Well, I appreciate you sharing all that. And just for unfortunately, this is going to be released after this coming Saturday. So Elizabeth, make sure we'll share all the things about Denise's the topless cruise. But no, we've got lots of followers. We'll make sure to share all that on our social media. So maybe get some press about that. So we're going to finish up here. Anything else? Any last words or anything you'd like to share before we close this one out? This 4.5 hour episode that we're having.
This was really fun. Thank you so much.
Well, you're very welcome.
Thank you for doing this.
This has been a lot of fun. So, okay, every listener out there, you've heard how to kind of get in touch with Cancer Services, how to help, and I'll put a little quick plug in for we do actually have here at GSM Services a pink van that Stephanie mentioned earlier, and you are able to request that van if you'd like, and we do a quarterly donation from the proceeds that van produces. So if you want to do that, feel free to call in for your maintenance or anything else, and we'll be happy to get on the schedule for the Cancer Services GSM pink van to come to your house. So I'm gonna finish up with my own book recommendation and quote for this week, and I'm going old school on a book. If you've listened to any episodes, I'm a big personal development guy and like a lot of those books. This is what I would call a classic personal development book by a gentleman named Og Mandino. That's right, OG. This is his first name, Og Mandino. He wrote a book called The Greatest Secret in the World. It's just if you're starting on a kind of a personal development journey, that's a good book to start with. But again, that's The Greatest Secret in the World. And I think this is the first time I've actually gone to Scripture for my quote of the week. But I try to pick a quote that might be somewhat related to our guest or our topic for the week. And this one comes from Romans 5, 3-3. It's listed. It's not the entire verse, I don't think, but 3-5 says, "Rejoice in our sufferings, knowing that suffering produces endurance, and endurance produces character, and character produces hope." So that's one of my favorite scriptures from the New Testament. So To everyone out there, to all our listeners, thanks for taking the time to listen to today's episode. Please spread the word if you can about the podcast, and please don't hesitate to contact us here at podcast@gastonsgreat.com. We're always looking for suggestions for future podcast topics and guests. You can find the podcast and subscribe at the website, gastonsgreat.com, and please follow us on our social media platforms. You can also find us and subscribe and rate the podcast. If there is I think most ratings are 5, but I'm sure this one's going to get like 9 or 10s. Spotify, iTunes, Google is where you can find us as well. So thanks again to Stephanie Roberts and Kim Elmore from Cancer Services for being our guest today. Gaston's Great is produced and brought to you by Amy Anderson and Elizabeth King from GSM Services and edited here locally by the Sumner Group. I'm your host, Stephen Long. Thanks again for hanging out with us, and please keep coming back to hear more reasons why Gaston's great.